the Glendale Neighborhood Council meeting. I'm the vice chair, Jennifer Madrigal, and we're gonna get started. I've got several updates. So the fire department is actually here in person, so we'll have them do their update first, so that they can get on with their night, and then we'll go through the rest of the updated presentation. So take it away. I think everybody should be able to hear you.
Okay, should I just talk this way? Looks like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's got
sure. All right, hey everyone, my name is Sydney Servinsky. I'm one of the newer firefighters with Salt Lake City Fire Department. Tonight I'll just go over our newsletter for the month of November and some news we have that's been going on recently. So for November, our newsletter, we cover mainly being safer in the kitchen with Thanksgiving coming up. A fun fact, a fire is 3 times more likely to happen on Thanksgiving than any other day of the year. So something to be mindful of. And in 2023, there were 1,400 fires on Thanksgiving. So that's almost 400% than the normal daily average. So that this is a real concern, and there are a lot of simple ways that we can lower those numbers. So don't have your kids in the kitchen. That's one way. Keep kids out. Keep hazards like hot liquids and knives out of reach of children. And don't leave your cooking food unattended. So, and don't leave the house unattended if there's cooking food in there. So, super simple ways, but if we can be more mindful of those things, then we can reduce those numbers and prevent these fires from happening. In other news, Salt Lake City is currently hiring for medical response paramedics. You can get more information on that on the Salt Lake City website, which is fire.slc.gov. There's a lot of good information on that website in general. You can see the newsletters on there, sign up for these, find more information about Salt Lake City on there. And in December, we will be hiring or accepting applications for firefighters. So if that's something you're interested in, or if someone you know is interested in that, December to June is when we'll be accepting for the next recruit class. So that's a great opportunity. Other than that, that's all I have for you guys. So do you guys have any questions for me? All right, cool. Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah, thanks. And next time we'll be a little bit better about getting notices out. Actually, I think the hope next year is to just have these hybrid meetings every single time. So we would be able to have everybody come in and then also have it recorded. So
Nice.
we'll update everybody on that next year. And this is why we've got the new system. It's an owl that allows multiple people to present and to be online. So thanks again to the
Yeah,
fire
thank you.
department. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, my pleasure. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Okay, so do we have is that Leah Jeremio and with Salt Lake City Transportation?
Is not here, but I am filling in for or presenting on behalf of the WeConnect study.
Okay.
My name is Joe Taylor. I'm a transportation planner with Salt Lake City. And I have a little presentation, if that works for y'all. I'll try and fly through it and being respectful of your time. I think that we introduced this study before we kicked it off to this council. So hopefully this is not news, but if it is news, that is totally okay too, because we're not done with it. There's plenty of time to participate. Let me figure out how to use my computer. And share a presentation with you. Is that coming up in a way that everyone can see?
Yeah, I can see it.
Fantastic. So the Transportation Division, in partnership with UTA, the Redevelopment Agency, and Public Utilities, applied for a federal grant to the Reconnecting Communities pilot program. This is a nationwide pilot program that focuses on redressing harm caused by transportation infrastructure that has divided up communities, right? So the classic example would be like the Bronx Queens Expressway, the there's an existing neighborhood, infrastructure project comes in, rips up the neighborhood, and it's never the same. There's examples of this all over the country at varying scales. Salt Lake's a little bit different because the rail predates the incorporation of the city. So we sort of grew up with our divide. But as I'm sure will be surprising to none of you, the divide in Salt Lake City poses a lot of challenges for folks. So, we are kind of we're about to pivot to the second phase of the project. The first phase of the project was really just going out and trying to get a clear understanding from the people who live with this divide every day of what the problem actually is. We know, that you try and get from one side of the city to the other, that arm comes down and you can't get where you want to go in the way you want to do it. Or, your opportunities, specifically in Glendale, are pretty much limited to one or two channels across that divide, right? 13th or 17th or 21st, or you can go over to 9th for an at-grade crossing. But we had a real sense that there was a lot more challenge than that, right? That, it led to patterns of development, how neighborhoods see themselves. So as we pivot from asking what the problem is to trying to understand what we should propose to do about it, we're just kind of closing the loop and going back and saying, hey, this is what we heard. We want to make sure with a bunch of groups, including all the community councils that touch this divide, that what we heard makes sense and that we didn't miss anything. So that is why I'm in front of you today. So, this picture, I think, should probably be showing an experience that a lot of you have had recently. I certainly have it all the time. And then next to that is just the study area. So these are the neighborhoods we've identified as being directly affected by this divide in Salt Lake City. Obviously, there are more people that are affected by it than that. But it's all your West Side neighborhoods and then Marmalade, Granary, and Ballpark on the East Side. So who are we doing with this? Our main point of outreach is a community advisory board. It's 19 folks who live in one of these neighborhoods. They all live in one of these neighborhoods, and all of them are represented. Their expertise is that they are regular citizens who deal with this every day. We're paying them for their time, and they have been through all the phases of this project. They, write our engagement plan. They review all documents. They're at all our meetings, and then they have their own meetings. So that's our main point of reaching out to the community. We also have a technical advisory committee. That's more like folks who own, operate, maintain this infrastructure. So UDOT, Union Pacific, Wasatch Front Regional Council, UTA, and then the internal city divisions. We also have the grant application we wrote specifically outlines that we pay artists, local artists, as part of our outreach. So we've formed a coalition of 5 local artists. That is just coming together. I think they've met 3 or 4 times. And they are going to be more like facilitating engagement and outreach rather than what you would think of like to commission a work of art that will then be put out. So it's more like, and I can, get into it deeper if you want, but it's more like one of them's going to be working with school kids. One of them's going to be branding. There's going to be art at the divide. And then, of course, we want to include any and everybody that wants to participate. So we've had a couple of workshops in the community, and we'll continue to do that, as well as things like, surveys. So what did we hear? We heard that the, experience of being delayed in a way that is unpredictable is a real challenge for people. That a lot of people drive because of this challenge, that they feel like the other options are either dangerous or difficult. And, that's kind of the main thing we heard. There's a lot more to it, and I'll get into that a little bit, but that's in broad strokes, it's just that there's a huge transportation issue there. So this is an outline of the work. Right now, we are wrapping up this, first blue chunk, which is defining the problem. We're going to then move to a phase where we are asking everybody, okay, what should we do about it? We're really intentional about being agnostic about what should solve it, that should all come from the community. So when I finish up, I'll give you a link to an email address and a QR code If you sign up for that, you should get an email inviting you to participate in suggesting ideas. That could be on an online map or in a physical meeting. Then we're going to have our team of economists, planners, engineers, urban designers work through all of the solutions that we hear to kind of whittle down to what we think is, a proposal that would best solve the problem as we heard it. I will say that this study does not have capital dollars attached to it. So the last bit of work would be, kind of a roadmap to getting what we have implemented, grants we should go after, that sort of thing. But there is no guarantee that whatever we come up with would get built. This is just an image from our citywide transportation plan. I think that clarifies the divide pretty well. That there's not that many corridors to get across the tracks and over under the freeway. And those that exist, are ranging from mildly difficult to really difficult, especially if you're on a bike or walking. And then, bus service can't operate across an at-grade rail crossing, so there just isn't a lot of bus service that goes east-west. A little more detail on the findings that we have, broken into categories. The first being travel choice. Obviously, those barriers are a big pain for folks. The congestion and reliability aspect, you can't plan for when that train arm's going to come down. Folks have told us they would like access to better and more frequent transit, which is, according to UTA, really difficult to operate, especially at rail grade corridors. We also heard that a lot of folks wanted to walk or bike and just feel like they can't either safely or reliably do that. We also have reported from our friends at UDOT that truck and freight movement is expected to grow in this area, which is to further compound stuff. And then that even people in their cars, feel like there's a safety challenge, both at the divide and Redwood Road as well. We also heard a lot about, health and being healthy in terms of air quality, also in terms of access to facilities. And then folks told us that, that they just don't feel safe physically being on and around this divide, either because of cars and trains at high speeds, or just because it's not well lit and there's kind of nooks and crannies and they just don't feel like it's a safe place to be. So access to opportunity is another huge one. I say it every time. I feel like I can't say it enough. Every public high school student that lives on the west side of Salt Lake City has to deal with this twice a day. There are great elementary school and middle school facilities on the west side. I used to work at Mountain View, shout out to Mountain View, but there's not a high school over there. It's not just education. There's a higher concentration of both more and better paying jobs on the east side. So, that access to opportunity is difficult because of this barrier. We heard a lot about community vibrancy. We heard a lot about grocery stores. We heard a lot about amenities. Folks have told us that even if there is an existing amenity like a grocery store, it may not be the one that they want. And so they're crossing the divide to shop at the grocery store they feel like has the stuff that they need. So food access is difficult, but also things like coffee shops, bars, just kind of those third space places. So that's what we've heard in a real nutshell. And we have, a document on our website that outlines that in way, way more detail. So if you want to deep dive, you can go check that out, or you're welcome to send me an email. The next step is to come back out to the community and say, okay, what should we do about this? And the way the grant is written is to suggest that, all of that should come from the community. And at this point in the process, there's not really guardrails on it. So while this is a transportation project, it's a transportation project because the problem is created by transportation infrastructure, but we're not necessarily seeking transportation infrastructure solutions. Could be community centers, could be grocery stores, could be something we've never even dreamed of. We expect to hear a lot about infrastructure. It's a lot you can do with bridges and tunnels, or even thinking bigger than that. But in the next, I think, month or so, we should have an online map where you can kind of come lay out your ideas. And then we'll be doing that out in the community as well. So I will make sure that this council gets notified of that. But also, if you want to sign up individually and participate further, that would be terrific. If you know somebody that you think might be interested, I mean, it's really easy to Google West East Connection Study Salt Lake City. The first hit will probably be a Vietnamese restaurant in Foothill, but we're usually number two. And we'd love to have you however you want to participate. And with that, I will do my best to answer any questions you might have and then let you get on with your agenda.
Thanks, Joe. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I do have one. And I don't want to be contentious, but at what point during the study and implementation would there be the possibility of considering collaboration or implementing maybe the Rio Grande plan?
Yes, so we fully expect that as we seek solutions, the Rio Grande plan will be proposed as one of those. We hear a lot from those folks. Um, our community advisory board, one of the things we do with them is we have like kind of a brown bag series where, it's just like a little bit of civic education. This is what Wasatch Front Regional Council does. This is what UTA Service Planning does. One of those is going to be a direct presentation from the Rio Grande folks about what their plan is and what it might address. So, the study is really written so that we don't come forward with a specific idea and say this is what we'll do. And so I don't want to say, like, oh yeah, we'll look at the Rio Grande plan, but I suspect we will probably look at the Rio Grande.
Okay.
And that's not
So that
contentious
also
at all.
really means that any neighbors that may be interested in having the Rio Grande plan implemented, meaning that the train would be underneath the streets and there would be access and there wouldn't be all these blockages all the time. If you have any feedback, please get that over to the East-West Connections plan. And Sarah, did you have a question?
Actually, I had a question for Joe. So this is Matthew Morris. Joe, have you been presenting to different city boards like the Bicycle Advisory Committee and Transportation Advisory Board? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, because there's a couple folks from our neighborhood who are on those boards who don't come to this meeting. Just another great way to connect with the
I
community.
think I was with the BAC Bicycle Advisory Committee chair on Monday, and then I think I have tab next week.
Excellent. Awesome.
Yeah. So yes, good note, and thank you.
All right,
Cool.
Joe, thank you so much. Thank you for all of your work.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all you do on your council. And hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, definitely. We did have an SLCSD construction update regarding the improvements for Highland and West High. But that is going to be tabled until January. So at this point, I think we're ready. If Rachel is here. Rachel is from Holy Cross Ministries, and she is a health outreach manager, I believe. And she's going to give a little presentation about what her organization does.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jennifer. Hello, everybody. Good to be with you this evening. And thank you so much for all that you do. It's kind of amazing to be here with people who are just very involved and want to make a difference. So I appreciate it. Okay. Can you guys see that? Cool.
Yes.
Awesome. So Holy Cross Ministries, we are a nonprofit organization that we identify needs and respond in solidarity. That's kind of our quick mission. But we work with the underserved communities' need for health and well-being, and so that just is included with lots of all individuals and families working towards independence and full participation in the community. I just want to recognize the state of where we're at right now in this country and recognize that not everyone feels safe and there's a lot of political pressure and a lot of things going on that are really difficult. And our organization at Holy Cross Ministries really tries our best to treat everyone with dignity and be able to give them the services and the opportunities that they need in order to have that full participation in the community and feel and get the services that they need to thrive. No matter where they come from and no matter who they are. So I appreciate the East-West connection and people found in different areas in Salt Lake. And our organization is kind of all throughout Salt Lake, into Tooele and the Wasatch back as well. So um, just a little bit of a background. Holy Cross Ministries is a nonprofit, but we were started by the Sisters of the Holy Cross, who first came to Utah in 1875. We just celebrated our 158th anniversary of the sisters coming to Utah, where they built hospitals and schools, and they really tried to build that legacy of compassionate service, and we have continued that. And then we do that through health, education, and justice. And so they sold the hospitals and they founded Holy Cross Ministries to be able to continue to provide those services to anyone who needs it. So I'll kind of talk about our four different programs. This is our promotorial outreach program. This is the program that I'm over. But we serve with bilingual, bicultural community health workers who really just help to provide as many services as possible. We have a few different programs within this promotorial outreach program or community health worker program. The biggest ones are about food insecurity and medical debt and just helping to provide education that is needed in our communities. We have a team of doulas who work with maternal health care, and they provide bilingual prenatal education to anyone who needs it through one-on-one as well as group classes. Those are virtual classes that people can join us and learn more about prenatal education and what they need to do. We also have case management services for victims of crime. And that's kind of a big piece of what we do. This case management services will feed into other programs as well, but we really advocate for people who have been victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and those kinds of things as well. Another really important program is our medical debt and Medicaid applications. Those are beasts to deal with, and we make sure that anybody who needs help navigating those has the resources to do so. So we have people who are certified to help advocate for medical debt. And they talk with hospitals and collection agencies to be able to help people work through that, as well as applying for Medicaid and state CHIP and other CHIP programs so that people can get the financial assistance that they need. We also have a really incredible support group that's in Spanish for families of children with special needs. This is kind of a one-of-a-kind support group in Utah, and it's been going on for about 20 years at Holy Cross Ministries. So it's a really tight-knit group. If you guys know anyone who is a Spanish-speaking family with a child with special needs, this is an amazing group that offers a lot of resources and support and help for these families, as well as families talking together. It's another quick two-class workshop for parents of kids ages 10 to 14 to help them delay sexual activity and just talk about those risks. So that kind of goes into a little bit more of that program. But then our legal immigration program, this is our justice arm of Holy Cross Ministries. And this team works with immigrants and their families to provide them services to help get them access to legal status and citizenship if possible. And they really support victims of crime through the U visa process. So any victim of domestic violence has a pretty as a route to citizenship, albeit it's a long route and it takes a long time, but these applications are available, and we have a great team of accredited representatives through the Department of Justice who are all bilingual, and they help these people to reach that goal. They do DACA support and affirmative asylum as well, and so anybody who needs help on this front, our legal immigration department is great for that. We also have a counseling program. This was recently started by our CEO. She came in about 8 years ago and saw the huge need in our Spanish-speaking community for bilingual, bicultural therapy and mental health services. And so we started this program to provide free services to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault in particular, as well as we've started a lot of free online support groups for stress reduction, emotional support, emotional regulation, grief and loss, and other resilience groups. So we have some for women, some for men. All of these groups are in Spanish, and all of them are online, virtual, and they're all free. So these are really powerful groups that have been going on. Some of them have particular lengths, about 7 to 9 weeks. And then we have others that are kind of ongoing. We also just started a maternal mental health group, also in Spanish. So lots of amazing mental health work that's going on through Holy Cross Ministries. And our last program is our education program, which is mostly based in the Wasatch Back, Park City, and Summit counties. But just for your knowledge, we are really passionate about education, and we especially early childhood education. So we have a preschool and a parents as teachers program, which helps parents to teach their kids from ages 0 to 3. And then the school readiness program is that 3 and 4 year olds before they reach the age for kindergarten. So really exciting and important. And that's kind of Holy Cross Ministries in a nutshell. We do so many different programs, and we just really try to serve the community for what they need, and we're always looking for ways to identify more needs and recognize the importance of standing together as a community. So thanks so much for having us. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, and I'm happy to be a resource for anybody who needs to reach out. We are always looking for just anyone who needs services. So you can contact me with referrals or visit our website. hcmutah.org, and we will reach back out. So thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. Does anybody have any questions for Rachel? Actually, Rachel, would you mind putting maybe your website or contact info in the chat just in case anybody's interested?
Yes, of course.
And then I had one little question if nobody else has a question. For just thinking specifically about the help for victims of crime. If there are individuals who maybe don't have all of their immigration documents in order and are, not wanting to reach out necessarily to the police for anything official, are you still able to help with that, or are you required to report?
Nope, we are we want to help everyone. So if people are worried about documentation, immigration status, please tell them to still reach out, and we keep everything absolutely confidential. If they're victims of domestic violence, we'll encourage them to file a police report because that is pretty much the only way that we can move that process along. But we do it with the best of knowledge to be able to help people get the help that they need without interfering with their immigration status or trying to just recognize the situation right now.
I really appreciate it. Last chance for questions for Rachel before we move on. And I think up next, we'll actually have Syriac with the Utah Immigration Advocacy Coalition. If you are ready to present, Syriac, nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you. Thank you all for having me. Let me just put my screen on. I have a presentation, and then similarly happy to answer any questions that may come up. So my name is Sarah Alvarez, and I'm a senior policy analyst at Voices for Utah Children, and I coordinate the Utah Immigrant Advocacy Coalition. And yeah, I am going to give a couple of updates on, the trends, what's going on, and then opportunities for families, individuals, and what can be done in this moment, and then just share a little bit more about the coalition at the end. I just want to first acknowledge that a lot of the information is really difficult to hear, to share, and know that there is a lot of mistreatment, a lot of injustice, a lot of anxiety and worry that is happening both within the community and outside of the community. And I know that not all of the information is positive and that not having all the right information may not completely solve all the injustices that are happening, but we hope that we are able to really provide resources and support for community members in this moment and really try to find opportunities to advocate for policy change in this moment within Utah and then federally whenever we can. So to start off, I wanted to share a little bit of information about immigrants in Salt Lake City and then Utah immigrants. So there are approximately 30,000 immigrants in Salt Lake City. 15 that's approximately 15% of Salt Lake City's population and 17% of Utah's workforce. About 32% of immigrants in Salt Lake have a bachelor's degree, and I didn't write this, but about 75% of immigrants in Salt Lake City speak English well or very well. If you want to see more information, there is a link at the bottom. I'll make sure to share the presentation with Jennifer at the end if you all want to see any more information. And as far as Utah immigrants, there are about 181,000 US born residents that live with at least one immigrant parent, 21,000 immigrant children, and about 41,000 US citizens who live with at least one undocumented family member. So we know that mixed status families are all over our state. And when we talk about immigration issues, it's not just about whether someone has a pathway to citizenship or a legal pathway, but really just a mix of different statuses and know that immigration policy impacts a number of individuals across our state. When it comes to our workforce, 15% of Utah's business owners are immigrants, 13% of Utah software developers, 26% of Utah's cooks, and 26% of Utah's construction laborers are immigrants. So we know that immigrants work across a variety of different places, whether it's at a restaurant, helping build the roads, whether they are at some of the packing plants or at the orchards in Utah County. They're all over the state and really represent a huge variety of workforce. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on in the state of play when it comes to arrest data, trends that we're seeing, ICE collaboration, and just upcoming changes that we may see in the coming year. So over the past year, we have seen a huge increase in ICE arrests. As you can see, the 2024 data compared to 2025 data is very different. We do only have January through July, but we are hoping to get the rest of the data at the beginning of the year. But in 2025, from January to July, there were 2,009 arrests with ICE, which is a 216 increase with June. Sorry, let me move this. June had the highest arrest with 352 individuals arrested here in Utah compared to 80 in 2024. And this is due to a large part in the prioritization from this administration to detain and arrest more individuals here in our state, but then also nationally, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen across the news. So we do have a lot more individuals that are facing detention and deportation. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means here in a second, but just kind of give you a big overview of what's going on and how different it is. Current trends that we're seeing just here locally is that we're seeing a lot of arrests take place between 6:30 to 9:30 a.m. according to local organizers. They may be looking for one person, but if they stop someone and get the information from folks, then the people in the car may also be impacted. So it's really important for individuals who are going to work with, other folks that they know their rights, that they remain silent, that they remain calm and really not share information beyond what is needed, especially if the car stop or traffic stop does become an immigration stop. Sorry, the next bullet point isn't very good, but yeah, we've just seen a higher increase of enforcement within the apartment complexes. And we know that there have been different situations where ICE agents have been outside of apartment complexes, the large ones, asking for immigration status. So if you ever see that, it is really important to call allies and call folks that may be able to come and try to stop those questions from happening, and then also really help individuals who are being asked that question to know their rights and remain silent, remain calm, and really diffuse the situation. We are also seeing a lot more ICE detainers happen, and they are being added more quickly when they are booked into a local jail. So ICE detainers are when someone is at a local jail, they, are arrested and sent to jail, and then they get a little flag that says that ICE can come and pick them up. And so we're seeing that happen more quickly and also happen more often than they did in the past. Um, we also know that ICE is conducting operations at the airport frequently. For example, the arrest that went viral was just an example of that. However, most of the time it is targeted to individuals who they have already been looking for because they have a warrant, or yeah, a warrant, or just already are being asked to have a deportation order, or individuals that are leaving and going back to their country of origin and then are being escorted by ICE, so they know that they are for sure going back. We've also heard just on the news the possibility of a new detention center here in Utah. This is a CNN reported case where Utah was one of 6 states where where they're trying to push a detainment facility that could hold as many as 10,000 people. They are hoping the facility gets up quickly. So it most likely will be a soft-sided tent. However, I will say that we have not gotten confirmation locally from our leaders. Not to say it isn't going to happen, but we do know that it doesn't seem like it is a conversation that has been continued with our local governor and other leaders from what we've heard on the news. But again, that could change. But as of now, that's what we've heard. And then the last thing I'll share is that there at the local legislative level, there are a couple of bills or issues that we are tracking. The first one is the unlicensed driver amendments. This is a bill that happened last year where Representative McPherson wants to increase the penalties for someone who is driving without a license, and the possibility of having their car impounded and increase the infraction to a misdemeanor. While we're not opposed to that idea, we do know that there are folks who cannot attain a driving license or driving privilege card because of language access issues, and so this might impact those who just haven't been able to access their license or privilege because they haven't been able to pass the test. Representative Lee is also a legislator. We are hoping to have a conversation because he has stated that he wants to remove the driving privilege card, and this is a card that allows people without status or with certain statuses that aren't permanent to drive legally and able to get car insurance. So we know that this impacts approximately 41,000 individuals, and without it, they wouldn't be able to drive legally or get car insurance. And we know that just doesn't make our roads safer. So these are two of the issues that we are watching in this upcoming legislative session. And if there are any more, we are happy to come back and share any updates. But I know you all get updates from other places. And then just a quick big picture of what it looks like here in Utah. These are the different agreements that are here in Utah with ICE. There are jail agreements, and these are really agreements that allow ICE to hold certain people with the ICE detainers. And so Salt Lake, Tooele, and Washington County have these agreements. These are separate from 287G agreements that I'll talk about here in a sec, that allow agencies to collaborate with ICE directly. So we have a number of 287G agreements, but there are different types. There's a warrant service officer, task officer model, and a jail enforcement model. But as you can see here, They are all over our state. However, if you look at Salt Lake County, we do only have a jail agreement, and then the Riverton Police Department has a task force model agreement. So this is a lot of text, so I won't read it all. But basically, the Warrant Service Officer Agreement is primarily to streamline the process of transferring a person from local to federal custody. That's the majority of our 287G agreements. The task force model is really the most dangerous one that turns local police officers and deputizes them into immigration agents, not just within a jail, but in the community. We do have a number of those here in our state. We have five, but I will say that not that every contract is different, and not every single officer is deputized or trained to be this immigration agent. It's only certain ones within each of these counties. And then the last one is a jail enforcement model, and really focuses on enforcement within the confinements of a jail or correction facility, and targets people who have already been arrested for state or local crimes. And these are the ones that we have the least of, but we have two here in our state. And now I'll just talk a little bit about just upcoming changes that are happening. Because of the one big beautiful bill that happened, we have a number of changes that are going to impact immigrants here locally. So there are a number of there is a child tax credit restriction where now all children and at least one parent must have a social security number to access the annual child tax credit. This will impact approximately 36,000 children in our state. Because of the Medicaid eligibility restrictions that now have happened, it has lessened the restrictions. So now only citizens, legal permanent residents, Cuban and Haitian entrants, and COFA immigrants are able to access this. So people with a domestic violence situation that got like a U visa or other statuses are no longer eligible. And this will impact 5,400 individuals here in our state. And SNAP similarly will be restricted to the same narrow group, and 3,000 individuals will be impacted. So we'll see less immigrants who have in the past been able to access these programs no longer be eligible, and we'll definitely see an increased need for services outside of these programs. So whether it's a federally qualified health clinic, a local clinic, or a food bank, we might get more folks needing that. So I know that there's a lot of information and a lot of changes, so I wanted to share a little bit about what families can do, and if you're or similarly, how someone who is a friend, a community member, a neighbor, or a family member can also help. So these are the four things that we recommend. The first is know your family plan, know your rights, know your legal options, and know your community. So families can go through a fillable document that we have to really create a family plan for themselves, for their family, for their kids, so that they know that if someone is detained, they have a plan about what they want to do next, and they have a plan to know who is going to pay their car insurance or who is going to pay their rent. Where can I find that information to, have your credit card be able to send that payment in, things like that, or who's going to be able to drop off your child at daycare or elementary school, things like that. We created this document alongside a number of our partners to really think through what families might need if they are going through an emergency like a deportation. The second thing is to know your rights. All people, regardless of their immigration status, have certain basic rights, like the right to remain silent, the right to speak to an attorney, the right for protections against discrimination, the right not to open the door if they don't have the right warrant. We also recommend people not carry documentations that are false, because it is a crime. And then if you're stopped or detained, you do have to state your name, date of birth, but you do not have to sign anything. You can talk to an attorney first. And we know that these are really important rights. And on our website, we do have more information about other rights, like what to do if you're stopped in a public setting, or what to do if the individuals are not don't have any sort of documentation that shows who they are. So definitely recommend looking through some of that. And then we also have a picture of a judicial warrant versus the other warrant to know the difference between what warrants can that are signed by a judge that do force you to open the door versus not. Um, the next thing people can do is know their legal options. We do have a link to our legal options here, where individuals can meet with lawyers or local community organizations that provide legal um, options to really know that if someone is detained, what are their options before it happens rather than as it's happening. That way, again, families can be prepared and already know what decisions that they want to make, because any decision when it comes to deportation or going through this process is very difficult. And then the last thing really is knowing your community, finding friends, families, or neighbors who can help locate your loved one who might be in detention, who can help communicate or visit your loved one if they are in detention, help fundraise for legal needs, provide meals, school drop-offs, or other supports that you might need if someone is facing detention or deportation during this time. And so I know that was a lot. I'll also just add this. This is something that we recently have been working on, also with Jennifer, is a simplified version of the family plan for folks or families that it may feel overwhelmed by the idea of filling out a whole packet. These are just some of the important pieces that can really help someone think through of like memorizing the attorney's number, your consulate's number, family friend who you trust, your alien registration number, things like that, and then collecting proof of different things that would be really important to have if you do have to go through the legal immigration process. Um, and then the last thing I will share is just a little bit about our coalition. We want to ensure that Utah is a welcoming place. We want to build together with everyone and really build a inclusive and supportive place here in our state. If you want to learn more, here's our website, our email address, and then we do have a member form if anyone is interested in joining. We do have some community members who join from time to time, and really this is the space where we share. I know Jennifer is going to be a part, so happy to share through her. And yeah, the last thing I'll just share is our what's in our website. We have a number of resources, including know your rights information, volunteer opportunities, data, a timeline, an immigration 101 page if someone is not familiar at all with immigration and just wants to know a quick rundown of what different statuses mean or what's going on. And then, of course, our family preparedness document and a timeline of different immigration policies that have changed over the past 20 years. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions, but thank you for letting me come present, share a little bit more. And yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Surak, for coming on pretty short notice too. And I am really appreciative of sharing all that information. And we are recording the meeting, so if you know of anybody who might benefit from this information, feel free to forward the YouTube video to them. And it looks like she's also put her contact information in the chat. So does anybody have any questions? All right. If we don't have any questions, we'll move on. And like she said, I will be joining their coalition as a Glendale neighborhood council representative. So if there are any communications to forward on from their organization, we can do that at these monthly meetings as well. Great. Do we have any updates from community organizations, NeighborWorks, Neighborhood House? If not, we do have the Glendale Arts Committee, and Sarah, I don't know if you are available to make an announcement. If not, I will do it because we had something pretty exciting happen.
I'm here.
Hi.
Hey. Hey, everybody. I'm Sarah Wolf. I'm on the board. I'm the treasurer and also the head of the Arts Committee, the Glendale Arts Committee. And just a few updates. There's always a lot going on, and we're always trying to instigate new projects. But I'll just go over a few of them. One is we have, for the last few years, we've gotten a grant called the Love Your Block Grant, which is run out of the mayor's office. It's been wonderful for several murals that we've done in the neighborhood. And it's the kind of grant that you don't have to be a nonprofit to apply for. You can be an individual as well. So if anybody is interested in a particular project, it doesn't have to be art, just something that improves the neighborhood. The deadline is November 30th. It's called Love Your Block. And they just recently had a celebration just to highlight the people who got grants the last time around. And we were one of those, the Glendale Neighborhood Council. And we got a little surprise. We got a community champion award from Love Your Block and from the mayor's office for the work that we're doing for the arts here in our community. And that's when I say we, I mean myself, eBay Hamilton, and Connor Flynn, we are the arts committee for Glendale. So that was really exciting. And we are continuing our work. Let's see. So first thing is that I've started planning for, this is going to be our 4th annual Art of the Gardens. It started out as Art of the Confluence at the Three Creeks Confluence Park, but we needed more space, so we moved it to International Peace Gardens. If you want to save the date, it's going to be Saturday, April 25th, 2026 at International Peace Gardens. And that's just a celebration of the arts. We try to highlight a lot of Glendale-based artists, West Side artists, and just provide a lot of exciting and innovative art for our community. You may have noticed we had designed and installed Welcome to Glendale banners. Those are along the street in front of Jordan Park. I think we have 8 of them. One of them's missing, so we have 7. But we are getting ready to do a few more, and we're going to put a couple in at the corner of 1300 South and 800 West. These are, you'll see them, they're like a light green, a dark green, and a red. We have 3 different colors, and it just says, welcome to Glendale, just some neighborhood pride and some beautification. That was a design done by a local artist. And then we're always looking for opportunities to do murals. We've done all kinds of murals. We've done street murals for traffic calming. We have done sidewalk murals. We did one at the Three Creeks Confluence, and we've done wall murals like the Rose Printing building and the arcade mural. Arcade theater mural, and we're looking at a couple more possibilities. One of them will be in the 9-line bike park. So we're looking to paint 4 of the pylons under there. So I'm working with the UDOT and the city to get approval on that. And then another one is in Jordan Park. You probably haven't even noticed it. It's overlooked often as this little amphitheater area that's right next to the covered picnic area in Jordan Park, kind of behind the what used to be the tennis courts, now the bike polo courts. We're looking to get an artist to repaint those stairs and to do a mural on the surface area there. What else? Also, just a citywide effort, which is really exciting. There's going to be a large scale art installation that's going to be created at the new Glendale Regional Park. I'm not sure of the timeline on that, but probably in the next couple of years. And then they also have a call to artists out for the strip of the 9 line that's between 800 West and 900 West. It's the part of the trail that has greenery, kind of grass and trees on either side. So they're doing a call to artists to do art installations along that strip, which is super exciting. Yeah, that's all I'll share right now, but some exciting stuff that we are undertaking and that the city's undertaking to help beautify the Glendale neighborhood. And if you have any ideas, questions, you can email me at arts@glendaleslc.org. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. It looks like Steve from Spy Hop has an announcement, so we'll have him go next.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, just two quick announcements. One, my role here at Spy Hop is to manage the Central Ninth Youth Coalition, which is a youth prevention coalition. So substance use prevention, any kind of risky behavior prevention we are involved in between. We have a lot of good relationships with Glendale Middle School and Mountain View Elementary and East High as well. So we also have a youth council that is made up of kids from Glendale, and they meet with us here at Spy Hop once a week. Our monthly board meeting is tomorrow. It's a community meeting, so I guess I would just invite anyone on the call who is interested in learning more about prevention efforts in this Central Ninth Corridor from East High to Glendale. Welcome you to come to our meeting. It's at 1 o'clock at Spy Hop, which is right on 9th South and 2nd West. And we meet for about 90 minutes, but all of you are welcome. Anyone, it's a community meeting, and we'd love to have members of the community there to take part in conversation and kind of just be part of that overall effort to support prevention efforts in this area. So that's one thing tomorrow, 1 o'clock at Spy Hop. And then the other event I'm just reading about on my email here. So this is going to happen Friday night at Spy Hop from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It's a panel discussion and a short film that will be screened around the subject of teen grief support. So if you have a teen or have a teen close in your life, either as a family member or friend, this would be a great opportunity to come and learn a little bit more about supporting teens who are grieving for any number of reasons. Panel discussion and then a film that's been made by one of Spy Hop's apprenticeship organizations, Phase 2 Productions. So 5 o'clock at Spy Hop in the student lounge. Great opportunity to get some support for our teens. And that's all I have, Jennifer. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Steve? If not, I did see that Detective Oliver is on. Did you want to give any quick updates?
Sure, unless there's some questions we need to talk about or concerns that you're seeing in your neighborhood. Nope. All right, we'll just jump into this real quick. The public safety plan dashboard, it's available on the mayor's website or on the city's website, and it's good up to 2 days ago. We had our city crime year to date is actually down, or it's actually up. Violent crime is up 0.8% from last year. Property crimes are down 4.3%. 3-year comparison, violent crime is down 0.1% over a 3-year average. Property crime is down 12.3% over a 3-year average. We have had a total of over 122,000 calls for service this year compared to 138 last year, 138,000. So we are a little bit below our calls for service over even a 3-year average. So it's good in a sense that maybe we're not seeing some issues, but it's also a little bit nerve-wracking that people are not calling in for crimes that are occurring. So I just want to remind everybody that if you do see something, or if you are a victim of a crime, please call in. We need to have knowledge of that so we can get the resources to the area. We have jail bookings this year. We've had a total of almost 9,000 compared to 8,700 from last year. So we are up in our jail bookings. We have an interesting number here. Our repeat offenders, we've had one, two, three, four, five that have been booked into jail almost 50 times this year. And misdemeanor citations, they've had over 40 something misdemeanor citations. That's just 5 individuals of our repeat offenders. So that's pretty, you can see there's a lot of crime coming out of the top 5, let alone the top 10 offenders in the city. For the North Temple Jordan River Trail focus area, we've had 15,000 calls for service, 1,700 bookings, and 1,100 misdemeanor citations. Compare that to the downtown area. They've had 2,000 calls for service, 240 jail bookings, and 145 misdemeanor citations. So you can see a lot of the activity is on the Jordan River North Temple area. That Jordan River goes from 1,300 north all the way down to 2,100 south. So that's going to be continuing, especially since we just did get online 2 green space bike squads that you'll probably see a lot more on the Jordan River. So they are assigned to the Jordan River and the local parks on the west side, and those are specifically for the west side. So that's a positive thing that just occurred here in the city. We have had 1,300 no camping citations compared to 400 from last year. So we are seeing a lot more emphasis on camping and the crimes that occur as far as along the Jordan River Parkway. That's what I have. If you want me to narrow it down to specifically Glendale, I can do that. If not, if there's questions that brought up, we can go ahead and answer some questions.
Anybody have any questions for Detective Oliver? I think we're probably excited about the new bike patrol that's coming up. So it's good to hear that that's getting put into place.
Yes, I've seen them a lot in the Jordan Park lately, so that's been a great thing.
Awesome. Okay, if there are no questions for Detective Oliver, I do have a quick announcement about a CIP that I have been working on in addition to Matthew Morris, which is on Sarah Wolf's screen right now. I just want to share what the CIP is about quickly. So this is a kind of a busy map, but what Matthew and I kind of tried to do was to take a look at some of the transportation issues that we saw in the Glendale neighborhood. And we're specifically looking at the residential area, which is like East Glendale. So there are several kind of arterial streets that come from the freeways, the highways, and Redwood Road. And so I've got those circled in black, and these are areas that we are submitting the CIP application to hopefully get grant funding for a couple of different initiatives to try to slow traffic in the area. And just move on to the exact improvements that we would like to make is one of them is along the Jordan River Trail, where that California Avenue crossing is. The light is not responsive, and so people are just jaywalking, and the crosswalk position itself is very awkward. So again, additional jaywalking. In California Avenue, east of Redwood Road, and on 900 West, in between 1700 South in California. Those are 2 of the areas that we have circled in black, and we would like to advocate for a speed table or raised crosswalk at 30 miles an hour, just to slow that traffic that's coming in through from freeways and Redwood Road. And potentially additional improvements along the UTA bus line 9 trail on Glendale Drive. And the last improvement or item that we'd like to funded is a study of the pedestrian and driver compliance, specifically in Glendale, and looking at the compliance at RRFBs, which are I'll show you here, on the left here, these flashing yellow lights versus the hawk signals, which are on the right. These hawk signals are actual stoplights. So we'd like to get an actual study to show what I have kind of assumed or seen in my experiences, which is that people stop at hawk signals more than they do at RFBs. So you should be seeing some signs. This sign on the right, we're going to be putting some of these up at these locations, and we will have a QR code that will take you to a survey. We would like to get just a name and your area code, zip code, so that we can send this on to the CIP board to let them know that people in Glendale want these changes. So if you agree with these changes, please look out for that form that should be coming out in the next couple of days or so. And then Turner, I have not mentioned anything about the elections, but I'm sure that you're ready to do that.
Yeah, are you ready for me?
I am.
Yeah, sorry to cruise in here right at the last minute, but I went to Trans-Siberian Orchestra with my family, which is an annual tradition, so super fun. So we have an upcoming election for a variety of positions at the community council. That will happen at our annual meeting in January. And that meeting will be in person at the Glendale Library. But what I wanted to do tonight is just go over the positions that will be up for election, kind of a reminder about how our bylaws are structured, and then a push, I guess, for those who are listening and residents here in the neighborhood to sign up to be one of our board members for 2026. So folks may remember a couple of years ago, I believe it was in 2021, we went through a series of bylaw revisions. And what I'm going to be talking about as far as the election is all covered here in our bylaws. I've shared the link in the chat. So if you've got questions, you want to come back and look at the information that I'm going to share, you can find it here on the website at glendaleslc.org/bylaws. So for folks that attended our last annual meeting, which was in January of this year, you'll remember that I shared with the community that because our bylaws were rewritten, they were rewritten to provide for 2 3-year terms for the chair. But they were rewritten in 2021, and since I was already kind of in the middle of a term, ultimately what we decided at the January meeting was that I would serve for 1 additional year from this past January until this upcoming January. And then we would hold an election for the person to succeed me as chair. When we revised our bylaws a few years ago, we changed to a 3-2-1 model for our board elections. So the chair's position, the chair serves a 3-year term, and our other 4 officers, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer, and the webmaster, serve 2-year terms. And then we have 7 at-large board members that serve 1-year terms. The reason that we decided to stagger the terms the way that we did is when I was first elected as the chair back in 2020, all of the other officers were basically new at the same time as well. And we had this huge loss of institutional knowledge all at the same time. So because of that, we had a bunch of kind of back end issues like our bank account, our tax status, a variety of different things were kind of harmed by the fact that we lost all that institutional knowledge. And so we felt as a board and as a community that having a chair that could serve for 3 years would give that person the opportunity to help onboard the other officers every 2 years and go through 2 cycles of elections with the different officers. And so it's given us the ability to make sure that that institutional knowledge is not lost when someone leaves the board, or especially when the officers turn over, since each of us kind of have a specified role with the community, or excuse me, with the community council. So again, the chair serves a 3-year term, the other 4 officers serve a 2-year term, and then our at-large board members serve a 1-year term. So the responsibilities of each of the positions is covered here in the bylaws in Article 4. The chair and the vice chair, the chair presides over the meetings, and the vice chair, as is the case tonight, steps in when the chair isn't available to run the meeting. And then our vice chair historically has been involved in all kinds of things, helping with committees, writing CIPs, a variety of different things. The webmaster is responsible for helping send out our newsletter, which is an email that comes out once a month. And then also posts on our social media and our website, and just helps keep our digital resources going so that we're getting the word out. They also help manage the Zoom and help these meetings run smoothly every month when we're on Zoom. When we're in person, and we've done hybrid meetings, they've typically helped with running the hybrid meetings as well. Our webmaster, Sagan, let us all know at our last board meeting that she would not be running again. And that's one of the positions, one of the 3 officer positions that will be up in January. So in January, we'll be electing a chair, a webmaster, and the treasurer. We just elected our treasurer earlier this year, Sarah. Sarah took over from Catherine, our previous treasurer, who moved out of the community and had to step down in January of last year because she moved. And so you may remember that we just did that election, but this will be filling the term for a full 2-year term since Sarah graciously stepped into midterm after Catherine had to leave. So we will be electing those 3 positions at this meeting, as well as the 7 at-large positions. And our at-large board members typically serve on committees. Our most active committee right now is our arts committee, but we've had a variety of different committees throughout the years focused on different things. And if you have an issue, if there's something you're passionate about, serving on the board is a great way. And then creating a committee or being part of a committee is a great way to work on those things. So Jennifer, our vice chair, has been working on immigration concerns with the West Side Coalition. I believe we had a presentation tonight on that. I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. Yep. But another issue, obviously, that Jennifer's passionate about and has helped the board bring into the community council and focus on as an organization. And so getting involved is a really good opportunity. I have very, very much enjoyed my time with the community council. I've gotten to serve with some really, really great people throughout the years and learned a ton about local government and nonprofits and a whole bunch of stuff. Hawk signals, the types of signals that exist on streets, all that kind of stuff just comes with time and being involved in the community council. So if you're passionate about our community, if you want to make a difference and get involved, running for the board is a really, really good opportunity and very meaningful. And I'm confident that you would enjoy your experience and find your niche for how you want to be involved. So as far as the elections go, there's kind of 2 different ways that they can go in January. Most recently, we have conducted our elections and there hasn't been a lot of competition in that we haven't had multiple people running for each position. If that is the case in January, then what we typically do is just move to elect our board by acclamation, which means that we've got a person for the positions that they've signed up for, but we don't necessarily have competitive elections. If we don't have competitive elections, we elect folks by acclamation, which just means it's not competitive, and we approve everyone who signed up for the position that they were interested in. So that's been most recently. If we do have a competitive election, let's say we have multiple people running for each of the officer positions. In the case that that is the case, what we will do is we will have paper ballots. Everyone will get 1 vote, and you fill out the ballot for the person that you want to win that position. And then it is just the majority that selects the next chair or vice chair or board member if there is competition. As far as the counting of that process, the bylaws say that the board chair and another officer and then a member of the community are responsible for conducting the election. And since I'm not on the ballot this year, we won't have any issues with me conducting the election. So I'll be the one to kind of oversee the election process as we go through it. We'll ask for another board member to volunteer, probably either our webmaster or our secretary, since they also won't be on the ballot, or the vice chair could help with that election. Unless they're running for another position, we typically will then ask just someone who's not running to help run the election. And then the last thing is looking for a volunteer from the community to help with the counting. All of this is if we have a competitive election. Again, if we don't, we usually just say thank you to the folks who have volunteered and elect everyone by acclamation to their positions. If we have any positions that no one signs up for, traditionally what we have done is just ask the membership to declare that position vacant, and then the board spends however long it takes trying to fill those positions with volunteers and members of the community, and they can be filled at any meeting after the fact if we don't have anyone sign up in January. Let's see. The last piece of it, and this is just kind of a technical piece, our bylaws require that people who are running for a position that we have someone nominate them and second their nomination. Since this is kind of weird and quirky to do for 10 different positions all at the same time, what we have traditionally done is just done a call for volunteers, asked anyone who's interested in chair or whatever position we're electing to volunteer. And then usually myself and another board member will make that motion and the second to just nominate everyone who signed up to run for a position, rather than having to figure out a motion and a second for every position. We'll just do that all at once. And then at that point, we conduct the election either through a ballot or through acclamation, depending on how competitive elections are that year. So again, just as kind of a reminder, chair, webmaster, treasurer, the chair's position is a 3-year term. The other two officers, webmaster and treasurer, are a 2-year term. And then we'll have 7 at-large board positions up for election. Every officer or board member is eligible to serve up to 6 years. So that's 2 terms in the chair's position, 3 terms in the webmaster's position or another officer's position, and then 6 terms in the at-large position, because they serve for a 1-year term. I think that's it on elections, but I'm very happy to answer questions if anyone's got them. All right.
I wanted to just say one thing. It's even if you aren't interested or don't have the time, if you know someone who lives in Glendale that you know is committed to this community, mention this to them. We really want to get people involved, and a lot of people just might not hear about the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you for conducting the meeting tonight, Jennifer.
Yeah, and that actually does wrap it up. I don't think we have anybody else here to present, so we can give you back the last 9 minutes of the half hour. And then we'll see you all in January in person at the Glendale Library, and I believe that will be the 21st of January. So take care until then, and I'll see you all there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.